Hi, my name is Mr. Schultz and I'm your school counselor. And today I want to talk about something that probably no one's looking forward to talking about state testing. So, I know that there's been a lot of talk about state testing, and some of you are like, why are we even doing this? And honestly, sometimes I feel that way too. But it's something the state has asked us to do, and so we're going to do it to the best of our abilities. And the main thing that we want you to know as a school is that this is nothing for you to stress about. Do not worry about taking this test. We only ask that you do your best. Don't worry about the score you get. Don't worry about how much time it takes you to take it. Just worry about doing your best. That's all we can ask of you, and that's all we will ever ask of you. So, for some of you, this may be a new thing, and so you're not really sure how to do that. So I've made this video to kind of show you how to take the Ohio State test. So, watch the video, and then I'll be back after it's over, and we can talk some more about some fun things then. Okay, now, before we get started on how we take the Ohio State test, I just want to say again, this is nothing to stress about, nothing to worry about. It's just something that the state has asked us to do, and so we're going to do it to the best of our abilities. Really, we just want you to try and do your best. That's all we are asking of you. Now, you may be asking yourself, what are the Ohio State tests? Well, basically, they're just a test to see how well you're learning. And of course, we've had a pretty rough year, and so we understand that a lot of you may not be exactly where you had hoped you would have been at this time in school if this was a normal year. And that's okay. We're all going through this together, and we know that. So again, don't worry about the score so much. Just do your best for us. That's all we ask. Now, we'll be taking the English Language Arts test, we call it the ELA, the math test, and the fifth graders will take the science test. We'll take the ELA test this month, and the math and science test will be next month. That's April. Each test will have two parts, and most of us will have 90 minutes to take the ELA test and 75 minutes to take the math and science test. That's 90 minutes for each part there. So you have 90 minutes to take part one and another 90 minutes to take part two. So altogether for the ELA test, you have 180 minutes. Some of you might be asking, how do I even take it? Well, it's kind of different depending on what grade you're in. In third grade, you'll take the paper test, but the fourth and fifth graders will take the computer-based test on their Chromebooks. And today I want to show you a little bit about how that works. So, on testing day, you'll show up and you'll have your Chromebook with you. When you open up your Chromebook, you should see something like this. It's like a login screen. Now, instead of logging in using your email and your password, we're asking that you don't log into the computer. Instead, on the far left bottom corner of the screen is an apps button. When you click on the apps button, you see an Air Secure Test little button there. When you click on that button, you'll go to a whole other page that looks something like this. This is the sign-in page for what we call the Secure Test Browser, and this is where you'll take your test. In the first name box, you just type your first name. Now, I know your name isn't first name, but this is just an easy sample way for me to show you how to do this. Everything will be in caps lock, but you don't have to worry about that. It just does it for you. And the student ID is a set of numbers and letters that is unique to each and every one of you. Everyone has a different one. And you will have a little card with you that tells you what yours is. And in the student ID box, you'll put that number in. Again, I just made up a random one here. The session ID is really important. This is something that your teacher will give you. This is sort of like your key, and without the key, you can't open the door to take the test. Every one of them starts with Ohio, and then it's a set of random numbers and letters after it. So whatever your teacher gives you as the session ID, you'll fill in these boxes to get that. After that, you click Sign In. If everything goes well, you should see a screen like this. It'll ask you some questions to make sure you are who you say you are, and if everything looks good here, you can say yes. This is pretty important. Here you're going to pick which part of the test you're supposed to take. Now, everybody should be taking the same part of the test at the same time if you're in your classrooms. So, if everybody's taking grade 3 ELA part 1, everybody needs to click on grade 3 ELA part 1. After you click on that, you'll see this waiting for approval screen. This is part where you can just kind of relax for a moment because all of the students have to get to this screen and then the teacher will approve them. And nothing will happen until your teacher approves your test. So you can just kind of hang out here and relax. Take some breaths. Try to calm yourself and get ready to take the test. When everybody is ready, your teacher will click the approval button and then you'll see the instructions and help. I'm kind of giving you the instructions right now, and I'm sure your teachers will go over some of them too. But when everybody's ready to take the test, your teacher will tell everyone to click Begin Test Now, and we're in. So this is what the test looks like. No, I am not giving you a sneak peek of what the questions are going to be for the first part of your test this year. I'm taking this one from a test that was a few years ago. But there are different parts of this page that I want you to know about. So let's take a look at each part. First off, let's take a look at our passage. So on our passage, this is the part where you're going to read this and then answer some questions on it on the other side of the page. If we're looking at the passage, we have the title, the author, and on the left-hand side is really important. These are our paragraph numbers. And these are important because there will be some questions that will ask you, in paragraph 15, what did so-and-so say? And you can find that really easily by going back to the passage and looking for the paragraph number that it asked for. On the bottom, you see these little dots, and the first one's colored in. That means that I'm on page 1, and there are 3 hollow dots next to it. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That tells me that there are 4 pages of this passage. To turn the page, you click this little green arrow right here. Okay, this turns to the next page over. If you need to go back a page, you click on this green arrow right here. This will go back to the page previous. If for some reason you want to make your passage really big and read it, if you click on the little book button, it'll get rid of all of the questions and open up the passage so there's like 2 pages of text. Some of you may like that, some of you don't. Whether you do or don't, you'll have to remember to make sure you close that up before you can start taking the questions, answering the questions, I should say. This is the questions part of the page. As you can see, this is question 1. This question 1 here is a multiple choice question with 4 different options for you to choose, A, B, C, or D. So you could read the question, look at the different answers, and choose which one is right, and click the letter of the right one. Now we see here a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and 8. What that means is there are 8 questions for this passage. It does not necessarily mean that there are 8 questions for the entire test. This only corresponds to this passage. So there are 8 questions for this passage. Now, what I like to tell people to do is after they've answered the first question, instead of clicking on this 2 to go to the second question, they should click on this next button up here. And when you click the next button, it'll take you to the second question. And it'll do that so on and so forth until you get to the last one, in this case, number 8. So you don't get confused and think that you're done after you do this question. When you're on 8 and you answer it, click the next button, and there's a good chance that it'll probably take you to the next passage with the next set of questions. Let's take a look at this toolbar some more. So we have a back and a next button like we talked about. Every time you click the next button, you're going to have your answers saved for you automatically. You don't have to worry about doing that. But if for some reason you want to save it, you click the save button, everything saves right where you are. If there is a reason you need to stop your test to maybe take a break or use the restroom or something has happened, raise your hand and tell your teacher, wait for them to come over. You can explain your situation and you can pause the test. This will stop the test right where you are, log you out, and you can go do what you need to do. And then when you come back, you go through that sign-in process again, and it'll take you right back to where you left off. Once you've reached the end of the test, you'll get a little box and message that tells you this is the end of the test. If you want to go back and look over your answers, we suggest you do. When everything is over and you feel like you're done, you can raise your hand and tell your teacher you would like to end the test. If she says or he says that you can do that, you click on this red square and it'll take you through the end test process. It just asks you some questions like, are you really sure you want to end it? And if you do, then you say yes. Lastly, let's look at these tools up here. A lot of these are pretty self-explanatory, so I'll go over them quickly. If you click on the Notes button, it'll open up a little page where you can enter in some notes from the passage that you might want to hold on to and think about later. The Line Reader button gets rid of everything else on the page and only shows one line at a time of your text, so you can read a little more easily. Zoom in and zoom out, I think we all know what that means. Zoom in makes things big, zoom out makes things small. But really, that's all you need to know about when taking this test. You read the passage, you answer some questions. If it's a math test, obviously you won't have any passages, but you'll have some different things. But this is the general layout of how we do this. It's really that simple. Really, that's how easy this whole thing is. It's so simple. So please, don't stress about this test. You will do your best. Now let's talk about something fun. We've talked and we think we've come up with an idea to motivate you to do your best on this test and to be here for it. So, here it is. If you are present on every day that you are scheduled to take the state test, for every part, you will be entered into a drawing to possibly win some gift cards. How cool is that? It's a fun way for us to kind of motivate you, but also kind of reward you for all the hard work you're doing. So again, make sure you're here on time, the day you're supposed to be, and you would have a chance to win some cool gift cards. Now let me leave you with this. It's been a really rough year, and each of us have shown how strong and resilient you are through all of these tough times. So I want you to kind of use that strength, use that knowledge to know that you can do this. I know you can, and you should too. I'm also not worried, and you shouldn't be either. Let's do this together. Good luck. If you have questions, ask your teacher, and I'll see you around.